Like this. Go. IB Film Show, take one.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. And thank you, as always, to our viewing audience at home. Welcome to another edition of the IB Film Show. I, as always, am your host, Mr. Shotwell, and I'm here today with another talented filmmaking pair this time. In the studio today is Erica and Liliy Productions with their newest film. What's the name of the film again?
Fortune's Folly.
Fortune's Folly. Okay, and directly to my left is the the film's editor, Erica Flaherty. Thank you for coming. And directly to her left, the picture cinematographer, Liliy McGrath. Hi, welcome back.
Thank you.
It's great to see you guys again.
Great to see you.
Okay, so Fortune's Folly. It's an interesting film, and I know that one that the two of you guys spent a long time both developing, shooting, putting together in post. A horror movie with some experimental elements, and I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about your specific roles on the production before we check it out. Starting first with you, Erica. So not only did you edit the film, but you were also involved in the film's sound, specifically in composing the music for the film.
Yeah.
And I know that you began the composition of the music after you'd already received the footage and begun putting the film together from a visual perspective in post. So can you speak a little bit about how you went through that process, how you aligned the music that you composed for the film with the visuals, particularly in the intro, again, after you'd already started putting it together?
Yeah, I think having edited the actual film before composing, it allowed me to go into the composition with a clear idea of what would work well with the film, and like the type of vibe that the film would be going for.
For the music, you mean?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So that when I went in and put the music in, it would it'd just be easier to line up, and it already would have been done with the idea of the whole film in mind,
Cool.
in a more finished state. And I wanted to like have a very rhythmic beat to it in the start, like have the chords be very in sync, and the editing would be like almost exactly in line with that, because I'm kind of a stickler for that kind of stuff with editing.
Yeah, and I noticed the editing, particularly of the introduction, is done very rhythmically.
Yeah.
There's an equivalent space between the cuts at the beginning that not only is equal, but lines up with the music you composed.
Yeah, and I wanted to take that as like a foundation and almost play with it as the film goes on, so the chords would become more dissonant and the editing wouldn't line up as much. It'd be a bit more erratic to play into like the almost descent that the film follows.
That's cool. So would you say there's maybe some advantages to waiting on the composition of a film's music until after some of the visuals have been, if not finalized, maybe assembled in a way that they somewhat represent what the film's going to look like?
I think for us specifically, it definitely was an advantage. I think everything should be planned out a little bit like in pre-production, so that you're not going into anything completely blind. But definitely having what I knew the film, like some idea of what the finished film would look like going into it, allowed me to like say, okay, what's gonna be feasible for the music and what's gonna complement the film, rather than me having to sacrifice some bits of it to make it work with the music.
Cool. Terrific. And I think we're going to see that alignment in the introduction of the music
Yeah,
to the actual rhythm of the editing, which is a really very artistic and interesting way to start the film off with.
Thank you.
Liliy, picture cinematographer. So I know we discussed, even in the planning stages, and then in discussions around the film after you guys were nearing completion with it, the presence of long takes in this film. And you in particular were not only seemingly quite adamant about having them in there, but preserving them as much as possible in post. So can you talk a little bit about your feelings as a cinematographer about the long take and the role specifically that that technique plays in this film?
Yeah, absolutely. I love a good long take.
Who
Clearly. I really think that using these long takes, it kind of almost adds to the horror. Like you're waiting for something to happen, which I loved, and like I know like we had some good intro shots and some good shots that were just like they feel almost like I like that they feel more like real time. It's like you're there with like the characters.
Yeah, and what I loved about your long take too, particularly in the shot with the red lighting in the living room, is we're also sort of confined, like the character is, in terms of what we can see
Yeah.
outside of the edges of that frame.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great use of the technique. Okay, so before we start, this is now going to be the final production that both of you will contribute to the larger library of IB Film films. So I wanted to take this opportunity to ask you guys to reflect a little bit on what type of filmmaker you guys consider yourself to be at this point in your filmmaking careers, and to think a little bit about how this film reflects that about each of you. And Erica, I guess you can start with that.
Okay. In a lot of ways, I think this film is almost like my antithesis
Oh,
of the film.
cool.
I don't really watch horror that much. It's definitely more of my brother's thing. And I wanted to use this film as a way to challenge myself while also putting in a lot of the elements I like specifically when I watch movies. So there's a lot of symbolism in it. I really like having like lots of motifs in films. I like taking metaphors and building up upon them, and I wanted to see how those would play out in a horror setting. And I think this film was definitely a way for me to take the knowledge of what I've garnered over the years in this class and implement them into like a new setting and a new environment.
Cool,
So,
cool. And like you referenced, a self-elected challenge, which is
Yes.
really cool. Lily?
I'd say pretty similar for me. I'm not really a horror movie
Oh,
person
that's so interesting.
myself. Yeah, but originally, like, we wanted to go with like an eerie sort of tone, and I think like it expanded more into horror, which I loved. Like, I think it came out really well, but like I would say it's not typical for me either. I'm definitely not attuned to horror movie culture.
It's so interesting that in that sense too, you guys are both operating in sort of unfamiliar and uncomfortable territory here,
Yeah.
which I guess for a film that is supposed to be tonally uncomfortable is somewhat appropriate.
Yeah.
All right, so on that note, let's check it out. Without further ado, Fortune's Folly by Erica and Lily Productions. We hope you enjoy.
What does it say?
It says it will bear witness to a terrible tragedy.
No way it says that. Give it to me. It just doesn't say that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Stop fucking with me, man. I had a long day. I told you.
It doesn't say that. Read it again.
What are you talking talking about?
It doesn't say that.
Whatever, man. I don't care.
Hey. Yeah, did you get home safe? Did you see the police lights? Yeah, I think there was an accident or something. No, I'm not freaked out. I'm just yeah, I don't know. But I'm glad you're safe. Okay. Talk to you later. All right, bye.
Thank you, everybody, and thanks as always to our viewers at home. This has been another edition of the IB Film Show, and we'll see you next time, everybody. Thanks.